I'm sorry, Andrew Weissman, but if I recall correctly, in 2018, you were one of the people who helped write the Mueller report, and you all botched the hell out of that.
And never in my wildest dreams would I have thought we would be here. I thought we were better as a country.
Oh, yeah.
Like all these sites that have been around for creating videos and all that, like text stock videos, they're done.
But that's why Canva was one of the first to get into doing AI.
What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers that's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And our team since 2020 has reached out to over 300,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. I'm also a contributor and also a member of the advisory board of, what's it called again? Indie Soup Media. I forgot. Indie Soup Media. Yes, Indie Soup Media, which has now been on 5 weeks and has over, speaking with Dr. Tachi's, over 5,000 YouTube subscribers in like 5 or 6 weeks. So you can actually catch replays of this on Indie Soup Media. So that is fantastic. So we are broadcasting live May 11th. And you know what? It ain't about me. It's about thee. the Aisha K. Staggers, the LaLa Key. How are thee, lady?
Good. It's been a week, but a good week. A good week.
Yeah. What's been going on?
Well, I actually finished my new office, and I'm really thrilled about it. I love my new wall. You're going to see more of it as it develops, but it's nice to have a very comfortable and inviting media space where I can feel like I can relax. I know a lot of people use green screen, but me personally, I prefer not to if I can. And now my little walls coming together, I'm feeling pretty good.
Well, I before we go into that, I a few weeks ago I said, you know what, should I stop using green screen? But it's people come to expect me to use green screen, like the different backshots. So it'd be a radical change if I didn't. So for now, I'm gonna keep it. But LaLa, I love the color of the background. That is on point.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Aisha K, how was grad?
Oh my gosh, graduation was nice. Yes, I did get to catch
that happened a week ago. You know, remember that?
Show. Because I couldn't really see a whole lot from where I was sitting until they put everything on the screen. So from my phone, though, I could see because they were also live streaming it, so I could see up close from my phone too. And
It's great that they do that because those things are big. Those videos are huge.
Yeah, but everybody, we got to share it with other family that couldn't travel to be there. And I think that during the time that I had said hello, that they were like they were halfway through, but it was like the School of Allied Health had so many students because my daughter graduated from the School of Agriculture. So they did just the School of Agriculture. UConn did graduations over the course of 3 days, and each school had their own separate ceremony. And that's how they always done it because they have so many students. And they're like, we promise we're going to get you out of here in 2 hours flat.
Okay. So just out of curiosity, were there any protests going on the campus during that time?
You know what? There were, but not to the degree that they had. Because a few students had been arrested. UConn, very few. But there were 4 people holding signs. They weren't directly in front of the venue. They were off in front of one of the academic buildings that's right next to the venue. And then the students themselves, instead of chanting or shouting or anything, they wore the Afghan shawl.
Yep.
The black and white. They just wore that along with their graduation hoods and everything else.
Amazing.
And that was those silent protests. And there was it went off without a hitch. It was quick in, quick out. Yeah, so we had a good time, and
she looked so pretty.
oh yeah, she did. And when I said hello to you guys,
what is she saying? Hello, their daughter's graduating. Put your phone away.
I was trying to get through the school of Allied because the smaller venue with just the school, they call every student's name.
Ooh, that's a lot of kids.
Yeah, and there were like 3,000.
Wow.
And it was by their department and where they sat. And my daughter, her department was like near the end, and she was sitting up to the top, near the top where her section was. So we had to wait out a long time. And
wow.
But the family in front of us, they asked my daughter's name. They cheered for her. I asked her nephew's name. So it was her nephew graduating. So nephew, his mom, his sisters, his brothers all cheered for my daughter. And so we stayed because we could have left. But we stayed because he was like one of the last kids. He was like the last 5, right? So we stayed to the end and we cheered for Kobe.
That's great. That's great. Camaraderie above the parents.
Well, anything else going on? I got a number.
Oh, it's my sister's birthday.
Yeah, there we go.
My youngest sister.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. Well, I don't, during these conversations, I don't put myself in too much, but some interesting things happened over the last week, like a week ago today. And I don't even think I had a chance to share it last Saturday because there was a hat game going on last Saturday. LaLa and Dr. Tachi.
I didn't hear, but I saw, yeah.
Yes, they were hatting it out, and I feel bad. So if Dr. Tachi ever, well, I'm sure she'll be back on again in the future. I will make sure I have my hat ready. So I really felt naked, shiny and naked that night, by the way. So last Saturday up here in Toronto, there's an organization called the Black Physicians Association of Ontario. They got it right. And they held a whole day conference about Black youth and mental health.
Oh, nice. So
went there. The food was on point, by the way, but the food was, and there were a number of different people there. And the organizers of it, who I've had on a different platform a number of times, said, Dr. Vibe, you've got to meet this lady. Okay. She is the president of the African American Psychology Association.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. The AAPN.
Yeah. So we had a great conversation, and we then followed it up during the week before she left. And she is really excited. I may be coming on this show or one of my platforms to talk about psychology from an African American lens.
Wow.
And also,
you guys forget that I used to be a professor of Black psychology.
There you go. And she said she's got
I used to have membership there, so I'm excited that you got to meet her.
Yeah, there's a whole pile of people. Says I got a number of people. So we are chatting. She said, I'm putting aside an hour of my time next week for us to have a conversation.
Nice.
So look for that. What else? Oh, and I went to a premiere. Tamils. Tamils are from the country of Sri Lanka. When we were growing up, we probably knew it as a country of Ceylon. Remember that? Ceylon.
Mm-hmm. I remember that. I just remember Sri Lanka.
Yes, and basically Ceylon became Sri Lanka when the British left. And there's the Tamils, and I can't remember. They're about 30% of the population. And the dominant culture is 70%. There's been ethnic cleansing of the Tamils over years, and a number of them have come to Canada. And I was invited to a documentary highlighting that last Sunday, and it was amazing. I've seen it twice now, an amazing documentary. But then they asked me to host a Q&A, which was amazing. And then I'm going to finish off with one more thing. I'm going to read you guys something. Okay. Here's the reading. It is May 10th. Today is my 87th birthday. For the first time in 66 years, I would realize my birthday in the place of my birth. To God be the glory. And that at this time, I want to focus on my family and say how thankful I am of them. That was sent by my dad.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
So the happy birthday is appropriate too.
Yes, May 10th. And the wild thing is I actually drove them this past Monday to the airport. They are in Jamaica as we speak, spending 18 days, my parents. But it's the first time
Nice.
in 66 years my dad has had a chance to celebrate his birthday in the country he was born in.
that's a
Nice.
blessing.
Very nice.
So I just wanted to share those things, to share the love.
This was a week of May birthdays.
There's a
Yeah,
actually,
it is.
actually
My nephew's birthday was day before yet. Was what, the 8th?
I think, and my mother's birthday is tomorrow.
Oh wow.
And I am a new aunt of 2 bouncing baby boys.
Wow.
Twins?
No, just 6 days apart. Both the sisters got pregnant about the same time. Now those little cousins will get to grow up together.
Oh, very nice.
Come on, you're joking.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's
Very
get into some housekeeping. Primetime Saturday at Patreon. There's the link, and I'll also be sharing it on all the platforms momentarily. Primetime Saturday Show Store. There's the link there. Join the Discord group. Email me dr.vibe at the dr.vibeshow.com. If you want to advertise your business, product, or service on the platform, email me again, and then subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Please like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and the Gram, or Instagram as they call it.
And there's no 10 and 10 for this week because LaLa and I ended up having just a regular we just had a regular conversation.
All right. Okay.
So it was like we needed to have that cleansing.
Well, cleansing. All right. So before we so question. Do you lady we'll save Mother's Day till the end.
Okay.
Yeah, I think save that till the end because we're broadcasting on the 11th, and tomorrow, May 12th, is Mother's Day. What I will say, actually, you know what? There's another thing I want us to discuss, but we'll put those together at the end. I just think that's good. All right, because it'd be sort of a clash on what we're going to chat about now. Man or bear? Hypothetical question sparks conversation about women's safety. And I didn't know anything about this till a few days ago, and someone made me aware of it, and they started sending me a whole pile. So I said, stop, please stop. Who wants to talk about any of this or about this man or bear thing?
Being the only single one here, the question was this: man you don't know or a bear? So that, let's be clear on that. See, if there were certain men that I knew, yeah, but man you don't know versus a bear. And to be honest, with as many bear sightings as there have been around here the last couple of days, like every place I went, my mother was like, saw a bear on her street, my sister saw a bear on her street, and I'm like, and they tell me this as I'm walking in the door, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm not staying long because I'm not going outside if it's going to be dark and you got bears around here. I remember seeing a bear out during COVID. My mother and I were driving to pick up some medication, and the bear crossed the street. He looked decent. He waited for the lights. He crossed when it was green on the opposite side. So he has just about as much sense as some men. But yeah, to be truthful, man, I don't know. Bear, I don't know. I would probably just stand there like an idiot and let whatever bus was coming to hit me.
Okay, and just before LaLa goes in, Gloria Bradley says, "Hey, LaLa."
Hey, Gloria, thank you for joining us tonight. I'm so glad you're here. I have to say, since we can't choose the man who's in the woods with us, I would have to choose a bear. And I think people are missing the point here. We're not really men bashing, but what you don't understand is just how much women are in danger. And we have been beat up since the beginning of time. You know, the first thing that people ask you if something happens between you and a man is, how were you dressed? You led him on. Did you do that? Then people don't believe us when we tell them something has happened. At least I know a bear's nature. I don't know a man's nature. And so therefore I have to go with the bear. And I come at it at an educational and a woman's experience point of view. And people are seeing this as maybe a joke, and some of the men are very angry, saying we're man bashing. But if you don't understand what it's like to walk in a woman's shoes, then you don't have a right to tell us which way we should go. I know for a fact that I've been in many, many rooms where I was being extremely uncomfortable and didn't know if I should be around a person or not. I've shown a lot of homes to people, and there's sometimes alarms that go off with that. And then I find out things afterwards that were quite frightening. So, at least I know I have my chances with the bear.
Yeah. I mean, as someone who dates or at least tries to, there's always that creep factor that some men have before you even get to say hello. And this isn't male bashing. Honestly, like LaLa said, you know a bear's nature. You know this much. You know if a bear's close by, as long as you don't move, it's not gonna attack you. If you have food on you or a snack in your purse, the further away you throw it, it's gonna go toward the food. There's this one story about this one woman who met a man in a bar. Man she didn't know. And coming into the bar, he tried to get her phone number. She's like, no, thank you. I'm not dating right now, or I have a boyfriend or something to that effect. She turned him down. He didn't take no for an answer. Just met him. He followed her inside the bar. She's trying to hang out with her friends and have a good time. And he keeps coming up to her and she keeps turning him down. He was so mad at that on the way out of the bar, he killed her. Shot her in the head. And this is a man she didn't know. She didn't even meet. She didn't even know his name. All she knew is that, yeah, I'm not interested, and turned him down in the nicest way possible. That's the other part too, is that she couldn't even be nice.
Yeah.
And as someone who has had a similar experience, when I literally turned down a man I didn't know coming out of a pharmacy, and I told LaLa the whole story. The man followed me across 3 town lines, 3 cities. And and I'm on the phone with the police. And when they finally pulled him over, 3 jurisdictions, they found bleach in his trunk, rope, duct tape, and a basket and trash bags. So, yeah, it's not so much that it's male bashing. It's based on our experiences and this feeling safe. I know I struggle in that with with finding relationships, is finding the feeling safe in them. Always needing to feel safe in whatever relationship I'm in. And JJ Mars, I know how to change a tire because my daddy taught me.
All right. So let's, before I want to dive a little better than this, JJ Mars says, hello, chat. Paul Katz. Paul, haven't seen you in a while. Saying, I'm so sorry and sad you ladies have to deal with this kind of behavior. And JJ Mars says, would you want a bear or a man when you have a flat tire? LOL. There you go.
See, I understand that he's trying to make a point, but what you don't understand is what we go through as women every single day. You even smile at someone nowadays, you have to understand what risk you're taking, because it could be taken in a different light. And if someone comes on to you and you're just being nice in the day and you're like, well, no, thank you, I'm married. And this is a true story. I mean, this is almost every other day. No, I'm sorry, I'm married. Don't you see the boy? And they still follow. And now all of a sudden I'm no longer of their interest. And now I'm So
Yeah.
these are the things that we have to experience with rejection, with men feeling like we're rejecting them when that is not the case. That's not always the case.
Yeah.
You're just being polite. We can't even be polite.
I mean,
So
and you can't even be in a bad mood because it's like, don't tell me to smile if you don't know what I'm dealing with. The same day I found out my friend died, I went into a pharmacy to get something, and the guy was like, "Why do you have to look so mean? Smile." And I'm like, "My friend just died." And he was like, "Oh, I didn't know." Exactly. So you don't say those things to people you don't know, but especially telling women to smile. Sometimes I just don't feel like it.
but you never hear the opposite. When you think about this, let's think about this. You have the shoe on the woman's foot. Let's look at it being flipped to men. How would you like that? How would you like for us to tell you to smile, to tell you to cheer up? Oh, you so handsome, you shouldn't be having your face frowned up like that. Or if we even just you smile at us and we try to come on to you and you're like, no, I'm married or whatever. Well, all right, I guess you're then. Like nobody wants to hear this crap. Why you always got to go there? Take it with grace and move on. But we have been experiencing this from day one. When I was a young child, a child of 13 who was, I'm ready to get real crass with y'all for a minute because this makes a point, who was just budding, all right, growing up, going through puberty. I had old men constantly hounding me at 13 when
And
they
it's always the
were
old women in the
40,
club.
50, 60. One man was 80 years old, had no teeth, had the nastiest comments for me. So do you understand? This is not just man or bear. This is safety for me. So this is kind of triggering because
Yeah.
you can't tell me how to feel and what I would choose. Because I'm telling you, I'm going to choose the bear.
Because the other part of it too is that you all know, I hate to put it this way, but you all know how to ruin a good time. Sometimes I want to just be with my homegirls and not have to think about men and just chat about the things that we chat about and just enjoy my time with them. That doesn't mean that just because you see a table full of women, you have to approach. Sometimes we just want to be around each other because we've got business to talk about, just like you don't want us talking to you while you're watching a game. We don't want this bonding is our game thing. We don't want you talking to us while we're involved in our game. I mean, the other thing too is that it's about safety. It's about not knowing boundaries. Women are taught to have boundaries all the time. All the time. The fact that anyone could think that they are so desirable. It's like with Donald Trump. You can't tell that man he's not fine, even though we know he isn't. I mean, you can't. It's like, how dare you turn down a man who just asked your name or phone number? What do you mean, how dare I? I don't have to explain myself to you. I said, no, I'm not interested, but thank you.
But then
What more am I supposed to say?
Here's another point that's not really being discussed. This same question was put to fathers by their daughters, and their fathers answered, I'd rather have you in the woods with the bear. That speaks volumes. When a man who now is thinking about this in terms of his daughter and her safety to answer bear. So if you know this, then the cycle needs to stop somewhere. Because if the father is recognizing that a woman could be in danger, and that's exactly what he said. One of the ladies asked him, and he was like, no, you'd be safer with a bear because man is evil. He literally said that. So what people are saying, just they're latching on to the fact that the women are saying bear, but they're not picking up on the key fact that even the fathers of these daughters are saying the same thing.
Right. And the other side of it too is that forget the safety issue. Let's look at also the annoyance factor in this. And I say this because for men to put themselves in that place would have to be the annoyance factor. How do you all handle women that you just wish would leave you alone? Why do you get to treat them that way? But we have to be nice and kind and worry about the feelings of someone we don't even know. Because that's the other side of it. You have to worry about that person's feelings so you make it out of there alive. Because we all know that story of this woman who was killed just for turning a man down.
Okay, let me just jump in. I'm going to put the story back on the screen and read a little bit of it because some people may not be aware. So, man or bear, hypothetical question sparks conversation about women's safety. If you were alone in the woods, would you rather encounter a bear or a man? Answers to that hypothetical question have sparked a debate about why the vast majority say they would feel more comfortable choosing a bear. The topic has been hotly discussed for weeks as men and women chimed in with their thoughts all over social media. Screenshot HQ, a TikTok account, what else is new? Started the conversation asking a group of women whether they would rather run into a man they didn't know or a bear in the forest. Out of 7 women interviewed for the piece, only 1 picked a man. Quote, bear, man is scary, unquote, one of the women responds. A number of women echoed the responses given in the original video, writing in the comments that they too would pick a bear over a man. The hypothetical has people split, with some expressing sadness over the state of the world and others cracking jokes. Some men were flabbergasted. Here's what we know. There were a lot of responses, more than 65,000 under the original post. Many wrote that they understood why women would choose a bear. Quote, no one's going to ask me if I led the bear on or give me a pamphlet on bear attack prevention tips. Quote, unquote, at Celestically Stunning wrote. At Branda, wrote, quote, when I die, leave my body in the woods, the wolves would be gentler than any man, unquote. Quote, another person, I know a bear's intentions, unquote. Another woman wrote, quote, I don't know a man's intentions, no matter how nice they are, unquote. Other TikTok users took it a step further, posing the hypothetical question to loved ones. Meredith Steele, who goes by at Babies of Steel, asked her husband last week whether he would rather have their daughter encounter a bear or a man in the woods. Her husband said he, quote, didn't like either option, unquote, but said he was leaning toward the bear. Quote, maybe it's a friendly bear, he says. Diana, another TikTok user, asked her sister-in-law, what should we choose, and was left speechless. Quote, I asked her the question, just for giggles. She was like, I'd rather choose a bear because if a bear attacks me and I make it out of the woods, everyone's going to believe and have sympathy for me, unquote. She said, quote, but if a man attacks me and I make it out, I'm going to spend my whole life trying to get people to believe me and have sympathy for me.
The other question I have about this is who came up with that question? Because clearly I'm thinking maybe a man came up with the question because women already would know how women would answer that question. It's no surprise to me that more women said bear than man. It's surprising to men that women chose the bear over men. Because remember, every guy, even evil ones, think they're a nice guy.
What does this say about men and women on May 11th, 2024? What does that say?
I don't know.
Well, and I have to also look at this too, because in the scopes and things, and remember a lot of the men that I thought about this as we were having this conversation. Remember several shows back, maybe several months back, I asked, are white men okay? And because something happened and we're realizing that they're not. I think probably it was another mass shooting or something.
Right.
A lot of the responses that I saw, like in anger, I saw them in anger from men of all spectrums.
Yep.
But a lot of white men were really angered. And I had to ask the question, I'm like, do you not see how this works?
Mm-hmm.
Do you not see what we see every time we see a school shooter or a mass shooter? Do you not see who attacked the Capitol building primarily on January 6th? I mean, how did you think that why would you think this was something to be surprised about?
Huh. LaLa ain't saying much. She's just doing a lot of with her mouth.
Because I think, unfortunately, until men see that this is a serious issue, that there's really no reason to say anything, because anything we say is going to.
Yeah. And that's the other side of it, is that even in answering the question, they were, and that is the whole point of, isn't that the whole point of it? It's like, you just demonstrated why we answered the way we did.
It's sad, really. It's sad, really.
Okay.
We have to do a better job of and see the other side of it too, that I got very upset when I saw this discussion among Black folks, was then I saw a lot of men blaming women in single parent households. I don't think, and having been a single parent, and LaLa, you for a short time having been a single parent, I didn't ask to do it by myself. I didn't ask. The assumption is that, oh, you must have ran that man away. No, that man is still the same person today that he was then, and that is why he had to get gone.
Okay.
Yeah. It's always our fault.
Well,
I was very quiet last week at graduation. I really was. I was on my best behavior.
And it's interesting, family, when we pick conversation topics, I was going to put this at the end. I said, no, I think we better put this one at the beginning.
Because this was your choice. This was your choice.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to get your lens on it, because like I said, it was a man that brought this to my attention. And then I had conversation with one or two ladies on about it. And they basically said that, women have had to deal with this all their life.
Yeah.
So it's not, it's.
And it doesn't just end when women turn a certain age either.
Yeah.
Older women are even more fearful because of their fear that they can't protect themselves anymore. They no longer have the strength to do it.
So a lady shared this with me. She said, many men don't understand this or are in denial of it. Their insecurities are what often make them intimidated, she was saying to her, of her or any great woman that brings a challenge of elevation. In hindsight, they are weak, but won't admit it and are afraid of letting their weakness show. So they end up with a woman who's weaker than them. And he said, but this is a whole conversation. Yes, it is. So I just don't, I think the unfortunately, the only thing, one of the things is painting a whole brush on a whole group.
Right.
That's
right.
I don't think it's so much painting a whole brush on a whole group, but I think what it does to the rest of you who aren't those kind of men, is that you got to start holding the ones who are accountable. That's not our job.
Well, I think it's not your job, and it isn't my job. It's the individual who's wrong's job. That's
right. It's their job,
at the end of the day, the only person who can change that person who's like that, it has to start with them.
Yeah, but think about being a young kid and a young person, even young person professionally. You didn't know what you didn't know until someone pulled your coattails to it. And the closer that person was to being who you were at the time, or had the same similar background, the more likely you were to listen. And so that's why I say that, because the thing of it is that those kinds of men already aren't willing to hear anything women have to say. That's like why racism is, as people of color, racism isn't our problem to fix, because we're not the ones with the problem. It's the people that have the problem in their inner circle that can talk to them and get through a lot faster than the people that are that they view a certain way. And so that's why I say that, because I think that good men, it's not your full responsibility, but I think that it is your responsibility. Just like, because here's the other side of it. As women, we're always told, hey, you need to go tell that young girl over there that she needs to pull her skirt down. It's like, wait, wait a second. How'd that fall on us? It's like, well, you need to tell her. It's like,
Right.
okay, I don't need to tell her at all. Maybe she wanted to wear a short skirt. How about that?
Yeah. Point taken. And well, the world of relationships. Just a few things. Look who's in the house, Indie Soup Media. So that means Dr. Tachi is here. And Paul says, I'm just very glad I was raised the way I was and that I have great respect for women. What is sad is that men behave so badly. I've occasionally been lumped in as, quote, just as bad, unquote. Yes,
I can see that. Yes.
I can see that.
Yeah, and that's where I'm, Paul, you articulated it a little bit better and deeper than Dr. Vibe did. So maybe you should be hosting this. You want to host next week? All right. So we are going to go for a break. And that's Paul's comment. We're going to be back in just a moment after taking a little break and talk about men and bears. Some people think that the gem we're going to be talking about next is a bear, not a man.
Lions and tigers and bears. Nothing scary.
Oh my.
All right. We'll be back. I'm getting out of here now.
You know, and that's what I feel like. You feel like you're the Harriet Tubman of the mind.
I am.
I feel like I'm I'm one of the Harriet Tubmans of intelligent Black people. Like, I want to liberate y'all from like being left behind and ignored and oblivion. Now, really, the rappers get all the attention. You know, seriously, does anybody else feel this way? Like ignorant Black people, they'll be all up, you know, getting all the headlines on the Shade Room.
Overly sexualized Black folks.
Like the twerkers and the, you know, just people that, you know, don't always represent the best of us, you know, the diversity, you know, like people like Dr. Vibe. Like, everybody should know about people like Dr. Vibe. Dr.
Really
Vibe he's trying to do good work for Black people.
Dr. Vibe from Toronto. Good to see you, my brother. Dr. Vibe. Everybody follow Dr. Vibe. He has a great show. He's very good at what he does, and I have a lot of respect for him. The men who are also doing the same thing. I see Dr. Vibe in here. He's a great brother. Everybody should follow Dr. Vibe, by the way. He's a smart brother in Canada, and we need to follow smart people. So follow Dr. Vibe. If you see him in the chat, and Dr. Vibe, say your name in the chat so people can see you. I want you to click on his name, and I want you to go follow him, please, because I want these men and women that are doing the right things to get the support they deserve. Hey, Dr. Vibe, how you doing, brother? Again, like I always do, I got to say everybody should go follow Dr. Vibe. He's got a great show. Dr. Vibe, I know Dr. Vibe's got a kingdom because I see your channel. I see you pouring into that every day. Everybody should follow Dr. Vibe, by the way. Look him up, Dr. Vibe, V-I-B-E. He's a great friend of me and my wife, and I love this guy.
Okay, so let me hop into this. What's up, Dr. Vibe? How you doing? Everybody, if you see Dr. Vibe in the chat, everybody go follow the Dr. Vibe show. Dr. Vibe is a real smart brother and a good human being. I like the guy a lot, and he's very intelligent. And I think everyone should pay attention to what he's got going on. We got to shine the spotlight on the intelligent Black people out here that are really doing the good work. Don't just pay attention to the rappers and the celebrities. You know, a lot of these people are losers. Your true winners are your people in your community that are really having your back. You know, helping us to have stronger families and a stronger community. So Dr. Vibe is in that category. So you might see the Dr. Vibe show in this chat. If you see him, please go follow him. Okay. All right. So anyway.
All right. We are back on Primetime Saturday with Aisha and LaLa. And looking forward to, we open it up hot as we always do. And Dr. Tachi says, hello, hello. Yes, hello, hello. That's the lady behind Indie Soup Media, Dr. Tachi. Yes. So there you go. And as we mentioned earlier on, go check out not only replays of this epic conversation, but other epic conversations on indiesoupmedia.tv. There we go. All right. So
I'm sorry, a perplexed look on my face because I just checked Twitter because I'm sharing on Twitter, and someone said they liked the tribute to my friend. Is like, oh, I had a chance to meet him back in the 80s and such and such. First of all, she's a woman. She's 47. In the 80s, we were both in elementary school. Tell me you didn't read it without telling me you didn't read it.
All right, let's move on. So some people think this person is a bear, the 45. There have been trial updates in the world of 45. Ladies,
don't insult bears.
Thank you. Aisha said it perfectly.
Okay, let's talk about trial updates after that.
What's not to be said? I mean, I can't keep up. I mean, he's got so many of them going on right now that it's ridiculous. What they're doing down in Florida is absolutely disgusting, putting this all on hold for indefinitely. But we kind of knew that. We all knew that because we didn't trust that judge in the first place. And I call her on. I just do. And I think this
It's
is
a
her
problem she
way.
created.
She created, and we're not surprised about that. Like I said before, it's so interesting how all the political stuff seems to be going sideways, but the one that's winning is the one with Stormy Daniels. Stormy came up there and told it all, and even so much so the judge was like, you don't need to be so detailed."
And you know what's so funny was that when they did a sidebar without the jury, the prosecutor's like, that was not that bad. Let me tell you the details that we didn't tell you.
Yeah.
Okay. And started reading those details. And they were like, oh, yeah. So yeah, we're not. But the thing of it is, like, in Florida, this judge sat here and said, I'm sorry, there are just way too many pretrial motions for me to consider to be able to go at this date. But lady, you've been sitting on all those pretrial motions for almost a year. What have you been doing?
Have.
What have you been doing? You can't decide. You can't decide on them because you didn't look at them to decide on them. So now you're deciding that you're going to actually look at them a year later and decide on them. Please tell us, without telling us, that you're waiting for a Supreme Court confirmation at some point to the U.S. Supreme Court, because this just sounds like an audition for a job.
It really does. But we knew that. We knew that when she was assigned. We just knew it. And that's the problem. It's so obvious. It's like we don't even need the script. We know this whole movie backwards and forwards because this is constantly happening with this man. I need to see some justice, because if this was just an everyday man on the street, not with this Trump name behind him, he would have been under the jail many, many moons ago.
Right. The one thing we can say about Florida, though, is that the first one of these things she decides on, Jack Smith has cause to send her up to the 11th Circuit that already smacked her hand twice. If he has to call her a third time, they will reassign the case. They may reassign it. Remember, there are only 3 judges in that particular district. But the one that gets me is what's going on in Georgia. The fact that they took up the appeal. You know what? You lost in court. So now you're taking up this appeal. And this is a political movement, not a criminal or strategic movement. Because the thing of the matter is if you really were charged with a crime and you didn't think that you could use politics to get out of it, the last thing you want hanging over your head going into the presidency is a state case that you can't get rid of. But the appellate court that decided they're going to hear this thing about removing Fani Willis, he appointed most of those judges. Now, here's the other problem that they run into. Okay, so you remove Fani. It doesn't remove the case out of her court. I mean, out of her, because she's still, guess what? She's still the DA. DA's elected. Right. They can't get rid of her. So she won't be there, but somebody else in her office will. Guess what? You can do that. You can appeal it and you can remove her. It doesn't change any of the facts or the evidence in the case. It also doesn't change the fact that it's a state case and there's no federal remedy for that. So even once this appellate court, which is a federal court, gets kicks her out, it's still going to go through. It's still going to happen.
I'm going to jump in. There's some comments that I want to read from. So Paul says there is a rumor, and I believe it, that Eileen Cannon is so inexperienced and inept as a judge. She's been using AI programs to write her decisions. One attorney I follow pointed that out. Also,
well, the thing is too is that she has never tried, and she's never sat over any cases. I think they said that it was one, and it was basically like a paper suit And it was, I mean, she's also never tried any cases.
Okay. Paul also says we're hoping that Jack Smith decides on the mandamus with her. All right.
Yeah, because that'll send it back up to those 11 appellates that smacked her hand before.
All right. So I also want to read from an article in the Atlantic, but it's keeping track of all the trials. So,
which is actually an excellent source, guys. Thank you, Dr. Vibe, for pulling this.
I love the
This is
Atlantic.
a wonderful source.
Yeah. So the article, so the Fulton County election subversion. And I'll just summarize a little bit, but just read to the key points. How grave is the allegation? More than any other case, this one attempts to reckon with the full breadth of the assault on democracy following the 2020 election. How plausible is a guilty verdict? Experts' views differ. This is a huge case for a local prosecutor, even in a county as large as Fulton, to bring. The racketeering laws allows Willis to sweep in a great deal of material, and she has some strong evidence, such as a call in which 45 asked Georgia's Secretary of State Bragg Raffensperger to, quote, find, unquote, some 11,000 votes. Three major plea deals from co-defendants may also ease Willis's path, but getting a jury to convict 45 will still be a challenge. The case has also been hurt by the revelation of a romantic relation between Willis and an attorney she hired as a special prosecutor. On March 15th, Judge Scott McAfee declined to throw out the indictment, but he sharply castigated Willis. And then when talking about the current trial that's going on in New York.
But there was another update with that too that he has to be careful about, because remember, with this thing, Donald Trump, somebody else who is going to be called as a witness in that case.
Yes.
He has a new op-ed out right now saying that he is not voting for Trump, that Republicans who think who are like him, because he's a Republican, former lieutenant governor of Georgia, saying that they're foolish and he's voting for Joe Biden. So remember that, because remember, he tried to put pressure on him too. They got that in evidence. That was something that was put in the indictment as one of the people that he put pressure on. So yeah, you could go and try and do this and fight this, but guess what? You got one really hostile witness right there who is not afraid of you.
Okay.
No.
And then
it has a recording.
So in the Manhattan hush money case, says how grave is the allegation? Falsifying records is a crime, and crime is bad. But many people have analogized this case to Al Capone's conviction on tax evasion. It's not that he didn't deserve it, but it wasn't really why he wasn't an infamous villain. Prosecutors contend, however, that 45 aimed to corrupt elections by hiding information from voters. This case feels more minor, in part because other cases have set grossly high standard for what constitutes gravity. How plausible is a guilty verdict? Though some critics were dismayed that this was the first criminal charge for 45, it has overcome questions about statute of limitations and legal basis. Prosecutors are hoping for a methodological case which will convince jurors. And this article was written by David A. Graham on The Atlantic on May 8th. So
let me tell you why I think that these people have been wrong all this time about, oh, it's the worst case, it's the least. Remember, there were originally 91 charges. A third of those came from Manhattan, from this very case. There are 34 charges in this case, okay? 34 criminal charges. And he's being charged for every check he wrote, because remember, we keep calling it a hush money case. That isn't the crime. It's not a crime to pay someone hush money. It's a crime to forge financial documents in New York State, because remember, that is why he owes money. He owes what he owes from the Letitia James trial. But in furtherance of another crime, which was trying to fix the election.
Yes.
That is the first. Remember, so we're not getting justice on an election thing, but it's not the last election. And this is the thing about our justice system being slow. We're just now finally holding him accountable for what he did in 2016. The thing that the Mueller report could not hold him accountable for.
Which was just a waste of time.
Right. This is basically the trial that should have come in 2018. Okay, we're getting to it now, almost 10 years later, right? But as long as people keep calling it the hush money crime, that it's because he paid hush money to a porn star. Look, that's not the crime. The crime is that he falsified documents in order to conceal something that would damage his election and interfere in the election. We have to start calling it for what it is. And I think
what it is, but that's what they do though. They put out these smoke screens and try to make it seem like it's less of a problem. When you call it what it really is, then it's really nasty when you look at it. But no, they want to soften it up a little bit. This man is crooked as the day's long. We all know this. He can't keep up. What's killing me is what's killing him is he can't really say anything because the judge keeps on slapping his hands. But when he did come out and say something in this case, he was like, the crooked fake news. Well, bro, man, I think you need to shut up because it was proven that you paid for fake news by the National Enquirer. So now who's forgetting that? Because you're the one who put the narrative out there for things to go your way and paid them to squash stuff. So before you start calling fake news again, you better check yourself because you're the one who's behind that.
But another crime came up this week. If you weren't paying attention, people are so focused on the way that they, the Stormy Daniels testimony. We could talk about that in a second. But tax fraud. Because remember, if it was just a retainer to Michael Cohen, he would have just paid him back the 130, or he would just paid him whatever the retainer fee was. And then Michael Cohen from there would have paid taxes on it. Remember, Michael Cohen already has charges for not paying taxes on his retainer fees. Donald Trump didn't pay him retainers for this. Donald Trump paid the taxes that Michael Cohen would have had to pay back on the loan that he took out and what he would have to claim for income, because his income would have went up with that full $130,000 flush of cash. And so when you look at the documents, he paid Michael Cohen almost $500,000, not just the 130 that everybody keeps talking about for Stormy Daniels. He paid him $500,000 for this because he had to pay 130, because Alan Weisselman wrote it down. He had to pay the 130 twice because half of that was going to go to the federal government for income tax.
That's right.
Then he also paid interest and things on the loan. So let's be very clear. There were a multitude of crimes in here. And if the IRS doesn't charge him with tax evasion, I believe that that one of the charges in this particular indictment does have to do with the tax law, because remember, they're charging him for crimes. They're charging him for crimes committed in the state of New York. That the election fraud thing with not wanting that story to come out, not only it violated a federal law while he was also committing a state crime.
Yes.
So they were able to that's why they were able to charge him for that. Don't forget, Jack Smith spoke to Stormy Daniels.
Yes, he did.
Remember, he did, because that's something I think that's going to also come up in the other election interference case. Like if he has to get rid of that second one, because the thing is, if he's found guilty in this one, well, they can use it in that one, because guess what? The crime that they charged him with committing was election fraud. So, I mean, I think the way that we've looked at this is very unilateral. We've lost sight of the actual crimes here that he's being charged with, and they all and let's be clear, all 34 of them come with something like 5 to 10 years.
Yes.
Because they were like saying he could get like between 100 and 300 years if they found him guilty, and he got the max on all of those. So it's not a little crime. I think the fact that they keep calling it little helps him. It helps his politics, but I don't think it helps the jury, because I think what the jury saw this week was enough to put him under the jail.
I agree. I agree. But will they do that? I don't know. I will say that I do have a little bit of faith in this jury. I think that they really did take this serious, and they really went through some serious vetting before it all happened. But and I think that they are taking this all into plan. But at this point, everything in America to me is questionable, because sometimes you think that it's just such a slam dunk, and other times you see you're blindsided. So I'm not exactly sure how this is going to go, but these details, the more and more details are coming out, the more and more things are coming to light.
Yeah.
We see that he's tripped over this carpet, and now he can't get back up.
I don't think that he'll honestly, I don't think this judge is afraid to send his behind to jail, because see, he violated this court order, got charged, and the judge was angry that he couldn't charge him more. Okay. So he got charged this $9,000, walks out the courtroom and violates the gag order again by calling it a Democratic jury. Dude, he just told you. So you come back in, and now the judge is like, okay, well, you know what? I'm sorry. They talked all kinds of ways this week about how they can imprison him, with him being a former president and having Secret Service. They're like, there's a jail right behind there's a little one cell thing right behind the judge's box. Put him in there, and Secret Service can be there, because they've already scoped out the building, and just leave him sitting in there. No access.
I feel some kind of way about that too. I'm sorry. This man does not need Secret Service. You have been charged and indicted. Why is my taxpayer money going to you? Because then there's somebody because it was innocent until proven guilty. No. There's too much evidence against you. And I think this precedent has never been set before. But me personally, I don't want my money, my tax money, going toward a man who is just as corrupt as they. We saw him move, but he tells you that he is. He's told you that from the very beginning, what he can do, and that he's untouchable. He told us this.
Yeah.
All right. So Dr. Chachi says the Atlantic is great.
It is.
Thank you for the endorsement. Paul says, apparently the defense is not going to call anyone, so I'd be shocked if the jury didn't take that into consideration while deliberating.
I think that might be the defense's strategy. That's not Donald Trump's strategy. He's going to want some people to speak on his behalf, because he's not going to take the stand. So even if it's going to be detrimental to his case, he's going to tell them, call someone. I don't care who you call Rudy. But call somebody,
Call somebody.
Okay.
Call somebody, because in Donald Trump's mind, it would be detrimental to his case, and look bad if he didn't put on a case. And he's not, because he already tried once to get out of it by saying, I want to testify, but I have a gag order, so I can't testify. The judge was like, I heard that there were some comments that you could not testify. You have a constitutional right to testify. So if you want to testify, you can do that. I think the only downside for me really with this particular trial, and why it's so easy to just call it the sensational thing of, hush money to a porn star, is because there's no, New York and Louisiana are like the only two don't allow cameras or recorders of any kind in the courtrooms.
Yeah.
And so I think even if we were just hearing an audio recording of what was going on, like we've heard with the Supreme Court, I think that would make a huge difference. I'm really kind of disturbed that I promise you after this, New York is going to change that law. But
I can see that.
I think they're going to change that law. But I think that this, being that it is such a case that will have an impact over the whole entire, not just the whole entire election, the whole nation has a vested interest in knowing what was said and what this man is found guilty of or not. I think that the bare minimum we should have is the audio, because look for example about how that woman who I don't know what person she was looking at, as Stormy Daniels that day in the courtroom, but the picture that Stormy took afterwards with her lawyer looked nothing like the picture. The picture that she drew, I thought it was, what's her name? What was the woman that Monica Lewinsky told? Linda Trapp. I thought it was Linda Trapp.
Yeah.
So we need to hear these things for ourselves and see these things for ourselves, because her view is clearly distorted.
Yeah, completely.
Well, the trial marches on, and the ladies will be giving their takes inch by inch, yard by yard, jury by jury.
Before, the one thing that we didn't get a chance to really talk about that I think that should get some recognition is that Donald Trump, he's Michael Cohen's Monday.
Yeah, that's gonna be.
Expect it's gonna take all week, but the prosecution intends to close on Friday. But can we just say that Donald Trump is not forward thinking at all? Because for some reason he seemed to think it was 1994, not 2024. In 1994, you can sex workers, and everybody think it was okay. And this time, they had that old woman with a white woman's jerry curl necklace doing the cross of Stormy Daniels, and she went there with and it was everybody in the news was kind of like, oh, that looks really bad. That looked like like antiquated, and you could tell, and they're like, you could tell she didn't want to do it, but Donald Trump made her ask the questions, because look, the first thing they teach you in law school, I've been told this by every lawyer I know, is don't ask a question you do not know the answer to.
That's right, because you never know what you're gonna get.
Because when she told her, yeah, you're right, I've been in 100 movies, I've directed 100 or 100 or 200 more, and honestly, if I had wrote it or directed it, it would have been better than this.
They are not ready for Stormy. Stormy's a different kind of person. Okay.
She spent 30 minutes on condoms. I didn't understand that. She kept asking, well, he was asking you about this. He was asking you about that. I'm sorry. Don't we all know that Donald Trump is like one of the biggest germaphobes?
Yeah. But what's interesting, but even the judge was like, he kind of spanked the prosecution, because he was like, did y'all not know what to do?
Right. He's like, did y'all not?
Clown show.
But I think the prosecution wanted that to come out, because the thing of it is then if he asked you all those questions, there are tons of people that could say that's characteristic of him. So clearly you were in a room with him at some point. And then she went the whole thing about dinner. Well, she's like, no, we were supposed to go dinner, but we didn't eat. She's like, oh, so you went out to dinner, but you didn't eat.
It's all weird. The whole thing is weird. It's creepy weird. It's itchy weird.
It shouldn't have been that weird with a woman questioning another woman.
Right.
Which was the purpose of having that woman question that woman, so it didn't look weird and it didn't sound rough.
Right.
But it was worse than I think if the man had. I think it was worse if the man had done it, because Jerry Curl Lady was just like,
Jerry Curl Lady. I love it, Jerry Curl Lady.
Well, next week we want her name next week instead of Jerry Curl Lady. All right.
Necklace. Her name is Necklace.
Right. Okay. Paul says it's just an indicator of what a literal idiot 45 is. The only reason Stormy was on the stand was because he denied the affair. If the defense had just said stipulated it happened, Stormy.
That's right.
Just like they're not calling, the prosecution is not calling Karen McDougal, because guess what? It's not illegal to pay someone hush money like he did with Carol McDougal and the doorman. They paid them hush money. But the thing is that he did not try to falsify documents in order to fix an election.
That's right.
And that is why they called Stormy and not the other people.
All right.
Because having an affair is also not illegal.
No.
Okay. All right. So as I said, we'll continue coverage. Come here. You'll get the best perspectives probably around. Next up, Ohio lawmakers insist President Biden will be on November's ballot, but they're fuzzy on details. What's the fuzzy on details all about?
They need to stop with the shenanigans. Here's what they're doing. Okay. The last day to put a name on a ballot this year happens to be 4 days before the Democratic primary in Chicago. The Democrats will not formally, no candidate is formally, no major party candidate is formally announced as that party's candidate until their conventions.
Mhm.
So the convention is 4 days after their deadline for someone to be on the ballot. But they're like, but when they've been asked, they're like, no, he will definitely be on the ballot. And they're like, when they ask, they're like, but how? If your law says this, how does that happen? So one of the reasons I wanted to chat about this is because I wanted our Ohio folks to be aware of the shenanigans that are happening with this. And there may be a need for you to write Joe Biden in on the ballot, because if they don't take care of this, and they print up all these ballots and say, oh well, we forgot, blah 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 blah. Remember, Ohio is now a red state, so be prepared to have to write in Joe Biden. Also be prepared, because they might, if remember, this ballot for Ohio is when they're going to play a whole lot of shaky tricks on, because remember, they also will have abortion on this ballot again.
Yeah.
So they're going to try all kinds of funky things with this particular ballot. And so I need our Ohio people to be ready, be aware. You've already had your primary. Now you need to insist that your lawmakers put Joe Biden on the ticket if you plan on voting for him, because there's no guarantee that they will count those write-in votes.
Mm-hmm. And to me, this is just more shenanigans, period. I'm tired of the whole thing. I mean, this shows you just how broken our system is. We've all known that it's been limping along for many, many years in the first place. But how can we be here in 2024 in the age of technology that could be good technology, could be used, and we still have these things that are lagging? This should not be in the first place. We all know that if the write-in thing is not going to work. I mean, it never does. It's never had a good history of statistics with it. But you need to now be aware of that, because if you have to do it, this is something you need to be prepared to do. So this isn't like, I mean, this is some serious.
Because he has a chance in Ohio because of the abortion initiative that's on that ballot. He has a greater chance. And if he wins Ohio, he could afford to lose some other states. Like he could afford to lose Georgia this go around if he wins Ohio. If he doesn't win Ohio, then the path to 270 changes. And remember, it's whoever gets to 270 first.
Yes.
Is this why? I want to ask both of you, why is voter suppression this to me just seems another form of voter suppression?
It is.
It is.
And voter suppression works in this country because we have the Electoral College. It's always worked for that reason. The Electoral College, now people keep saying, "Oh, the country split 50." No, we're not. Stop lying. Let's just cut with the BS. This is not a 50-50 Democratic Republican country. No, it hasn't been, and it hasn't been for a long time. We probably be looking more at 60-40, because guess what? If it was a 50-50 country, then you all would have no problem getting rid of the Electoral College. But you have a problem getting rid of it because it's the only way that a minority party can win. So to say that, no, you're not 50-50. It's more like 60-40. And I think that with the technology that we have, I'm sorry, if I can get into my bank account with my fingerprint, if I can get into other things with my fingerprint, how come I can't vote with my fingerprint?
Thank you.
Because fingerprints, and guess what? Even identical twins don't have identical fingerprints. So
Okay.
I don't understand why if we get rid of the Electoral College, even if we don't get rid of the Electoral College, you want to talk about a safe and fair election, you have to vote with your finger. You have to vote with your fingertip. You want voter ID? Fingerprints or eyeball scans.
Okay. Dr. Tachi
They
says
do it in all the movies.
Right?
Dr. Tachi says the Electoral College is nonsense.
It really is.
It's absolutely outdated. And every election we talk about how we need to get rid of this. So why isn't it happening?
And what kills me is that it's subject to population shifts. So states can lose an electoral vote if their population shifts. So if that's the case, basically what you're telling people is that so basically what you're saying is that we need to increase our populations in these states in order to be why do we need to do that? Why do we have to live according to how about we just do a simple majority? You know why they don't want to do a simple majority? Same reason they don't want a simple majority in the Senate. That's why they do that 2/3. The 2/3 garbage in the Senate is the equivalent of the Electoral College. It's nonsense, like Dr. Tachi said.
Let's move on to our next conversation piece. Valerie McCray wins Democratic U.S. Senate primary, making Indiana history.
Oh yeah, I told LaLa about this the other day because she didn't know. And I just wanted to bring this up because there are people talking about, why isn't so-and-so running or so-and-so. Valerie McCray is the first Black person, if I'm not mistaken, to win a Democratic nomination in a Senate race in Indiana. Bright red Indiana. And they said it looks really good too.
Yes.
They said her chances look really, really good too, because she's not just speaking to general issues. She's speaking to pocketbook issues. She's really taking that on. She's speaking to pocketbook issues. She's speaking to jobs. She's speaking to freedom. And people are really buying that. They're really sick of the other guy. Because remember, the other guy is a former state lawmaker. So remember, and I heard her on I think it was a Clay Kane show this week, and she said, well, the difference between me and him, right, is that I'm not a politician. She's an average person who decided to run. She's like, he has a record to run on. She said, he has a record to run against. I have no record. So he has to stand on business and tell his truth about the stuff that he did. And I can counteract without the actual outcomes and impact. And he can't call me on anything like that because I'm not a lawmaker. I'm not a career politician.
That's right. Oh, they're not ready for her. She's so eloquent and easy to get. Like she's quick-witted, and they're not ready for that.
She's got this calming personality that's just like, she's smart, she's calm, and she's just like, I've got this. And I think that they said that, she's got a really good chance. And so this was a primary that happened this week that a lot of people weren't aware of. A lot of media did not cover it.
Aisha had to tell me.
Yep. Thank you for the very few Black media outlets that covered it. But I keep my eyes on all of these primaries because remember, Republicans are trying to win a 3 to 4 seat majority in the Senate. because even if they lose in the House, they want to be able to hold things up in the Senate.
Right.
So that's why we've got to keep an eye on these issues. And let me tell you something. I do donate to these people in these down ballot races, who I believe should be in the seat. It's not a lot, but even guess what? Let me tell you, even like a $3-5 contribution helps, because even to hold one rally, it can cost upwards of $15,000. So, you know, we're in such a position in this country with our politics, our national politics, that we've got to support races in other states. For example, I know my people here are pretty safe, so I don't need to donate to them. Rosa DeLauro's not going anywhere until she decides to retire.
So put it where it needs to be.
Put it where it's really needed. And so, yeah, weigh those ins and outs. And you know, if you're about it, put your money where your vote cannot go.
All right, more conversation. Last topic. New docuseries on Black Twitter illustrates the collective clout of Black people.
Subcultures are wonderful. I love them. You know, who knew? I mean, we know that the Twitter world and idiot land, you know, I have a love-hate relationship with this platform, which I am back on now and broadcasting on there tonight as well. But the first thing I go for is to look for Black Twitter, because that is a community where I learn a lot of things, and I miss it when I don't have it. And if it's not there, then usually it's not that important, because they do talk about a lot of important topics, not just shenanigans and other things that go on in entertainment, but really key and critical information gets put out there. And if Mr. Musk had his way, we wouldn't be there. But I don't think he can ever silence Black Twitter.
Well, you know, the funny thing of it is that you do have a cohort of white people saying, well, if there was a white Twitter, it would be called racist, and guess what?
Here we go.
But guess what? There is. Because like I told LaLa, there's Irish Twitter, there's Italian Twitter, there's all that Twitter. But like I told LaLa, with certain things, the white is implied. So like when you say we don't have White History Month, I'm sorry. When we study U.S. history, the white is implied there, okay? The white is silent. So Twitter, overall Twitter, the Twitter universe, the white is silent, okay? The same thing with U.S. history, the white is silent. So that is one of those things. And think about it. When we talk about a lot of things, like, for example, LaLa and I were talking about this yesterday. When they talk about the LGBTQ community, the white is silent, because Black LGBTQ people have a different experience. So remember that part in a lot of these things is silent. And so this docuseries, I've seen the promos on it. And I just, I'm excited to see how they're reporting on, because they don't just talk about the memes, but they talk about the collective organizing. Because remember the hashtag pink slip? I forgot what it was. There was the pink slip one. There was the struggle chicken one, which is the Black Republican chick who was showing off all her really bad dishes and asking why she don't have a husband. And Black Twitter dragged the heck out of her for that. And so the struggle chicken was a thing, right? Black Lives Matter took off because of social media and how people were able to access that. The way that we were able, remember the Ferguson protests were organized by people starting with Black Twitter and getting the word out at Black Twitter. Even the things, think about it, news outlets weren't picking up the George Floyd issue until Black folks started talking about it on social media.
Right. That's right.
And Black Twitter doesn't just deal with with the civil rights issues and the issues of our time, but also sets the pace for the culture. It
also sends out alarms for us as well.
Like people like us do a lot of the times. We set the pace of culture.
Right. Because remember, with popular culture, the white is silent. Where it comes from, however, is not. And so a lot of it right now is coming from Twitter. For example, remember how all those Twitter dancers were getting their content stolen, and then the people who were stealing the content were being invited to the Fallon show and the Tonight Show and all that stuff, right? Well, you hear about this injustice on Twitter. Black Twitter starts talking about that, but also the difficulties and challenges that content creators of color start to have, and we start a whole other conversation. And so I think from what I see, they've got different people, a whole range of people commenting on these different on the different ways that Black Twitter has impacted popular culture, political culture, civil culture, social culture.
Justice, yes.
And so, we remember the first Black Twitter, right, y'all? Black Planet.
Yeah.
Remember? Because basically, we just re-upped Black Planet on Twitter.
Well, it continues to be a driving force, Black Twitter, and I'm looking forward to this docuseries. I think it's going to be really, really interesting. All right, ladies.
Yes.
We're broadcasting live on May 11th. Tomorrow is an important day.
Yes.
Happy Mother's Day. What's your Mother's Day message from both of you?
Give yourself grace.
Mine is always just to be the light. No joke. Like, honestly, be the best that you can be, because somebody's light is dim and all they need is just to see someone else's light so bright. So don't be afraid to shine it.
Yeah. And I'm using Dr. Vibes, give yourself grace, because guess what? As women, as mothers, we can be very hard on ourselves. Even minor failures feel like major failures. Even minor triumphs don't feel as big as they really are. So give yourself grace, allow yourself to feel how you want to feel tomorrow. And for people who have lost their mothers, right, and are missing their mothers, feel how you want to feel tomorrow. So, give yourself grace.
Yeah, I'll just add on those that I also will include lady caregivers on that too.
Yeah.
Right? There's many of them out there. I know many a person that have been raised by their auntie, their grandma. Yes. So there's a lot of people out there. And as my dad says, he says that the reason that our family is here is because of mom.
Yeah.
So we'll leave it at that. And another
episode. Oh, and happy Mother's Day to you, LaLa.
Happy Mother's Day to you too, Aisha.
Yes, sir. Happy Mother's Day to all mothers, lady caregivers out there, past, present, and future. I know I wouldn't be here without y'all. So you know what I'm saying? No, we're
telling everybody else. We forgot to say it to each other.
Well, this and also I think that, ladies, I'm glad you're mothers, because I don't think guys could go through the birth process. That's another conversation. All right. So you bared a lot of pain for us that I don't know a lot of guys could do. Another conversation. And also,
I had to think about that.
And well, another quick thing too.
Some of it you do remember, but some of it when they give you the drugs.
One other quick thing in Canada this past week, it was National Nursing Week.
Oh, wow.
So I want to hail out the nurses out there, male and female. Like my mother was a nurse.
Nice.
So
it was actually National Nurses Week here too this week.
Yeah. So a hail out to all the nurses out there. A very, very, very challenging job, and even made more challenging since pandemic.
Yes,
Lord.
yes, a lot of nurses and people are quitting.
Yes.
So it's also become a strain on those who have remained.
Absolutely. There is a
patients, yeah.
big nurse shortage out there. So that's that. That's a wrap. So let's call it a conversation. LaLa, how can people get a hold of you?
Well, I made it really simple. If you want to find me, you can find me on Facebook, TikTok, on all those. But if you just can't remember it, you just go to bit.ly/Laura Key Info.
All right. And then the fiend of X/Twitter. She's very popular there, by the way. Go ahead.
I'm AK Staggers on Instagram. Aisha Staggers, no middle initial, on Twitter,
X Twitter. All right, good stuff. And myself, if you want to get a hold of me, website, thedrvibeshow.com, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, The Dr. Vibe Show, Instagram at thedrvibeshow, X/Twitter at drvibeshow, and email dr.vibe@thedrvibeshow.com. So let's close it out. I think we got Dr. Tachi says, great show. It was, but be better. Dr. Tachi, as I said, we have an open door whenever you want to come on. So it'll take it from a great show to an epic conversation. You know what I'm saying, Dr. Tachi? So that's good. Good to have you here as always, Dr. Tachi, as always. So let's do our last thing. You can watch replays of this epic conversation on the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and the Dr. Vibe Show website, the drvibeshow.com. And I think that is that. All right. So I think we call a day, and I hope, again, Mother's Day is every day, not just one day. It's every day. So I just want to leave it with that. All right. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions. Then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. And always, don't just manage your time, manage your energy. And God bless. Peace be well. Keep the faith. And that's it. Again, remember to give yourselves grace. Mothers and everybody, give yourself grace. See ya.